Hi bookish friends, my name is Jackie and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to go into a topic that I recently received a request about, and that is about receiving advanced reader copies. So advanced reader copies, or ARCs as they're often known, are early copies that are sent out for a buzz about a book. So this is going to be initial early buzz before it is released, and oftentimes this will be a review, but sometimes this can be just a blurb about the book or just sharing any information about the book to get some early hype and buzz for that title. So they are called ARCs, or advanced reader copies, and ALCs, and that's advanced listener copies. ARCs are also sometimes referred to as galleys, but that's a less common name. Also, a quick note, you should never ever sell an ARC copy, even if you've read and reviewed it, or even after the title has been released. This is highly unethical and you should not do that. Instead, you should donate it or give it to a friend. I recommend giving it to a little free library or doing some sort of ARC exchange if you're interested in that, rather than selling it, because you can be banned from influencer lists and things like that if you are found to be selling advanced reader copies. Okay, so moving right along, I just wanted to dive into a few tips before I jump into all of the ways that you can get an advanced reader copy. But first, I do recommend that you make a bookish email address. If you have not done so already, this is a great way to stay organized. It keeps your personal information separate from any bookish related things, and I think it's just better that way. It looks more professional to publishers and authors, and it's so much easier to keep track of ARCs that you have pending, of requests that you've made, or anything like that. Also, I would say that you should have an established bookish channel, so that can be some sort of social media page, which can be a YouTube channel, it can be an Instagram page, a TikTok, it can even be something like Threads or Twitter. But I will say that Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok are the preferred platforms to have a bookish page. You can also have a bookish blog, but I personally ran one myself for a couple of years, and I found that it was kind of harder to gain traction with that. It can be more difficult to grow that than, say, a YouTube page or an Instagram or TikTok. Personally, I started on Instagram, and I found that was the easiest for me to grow on. It was a platform that I was very familiar with. But if you want, you can use TikTok if you're more familiar with that, or YouTube, and any of those will work and will be great for getting access to advanced reader copies. You also want to make sure that you are writing reviews of books that you've read on GoodReads, Storygraph, or Amazon. You want to start making a portfolio of all of your reviews so that publishers and any authors can view your work, essentially, and you want to start building this up to show that you are frequently reviewing books, and so that they can see what your review style is like. Make sure that you're going to give a thorough enough review, or that it kind of meshes with what they're looking for that book. I'd also say try to be consistent when you're posting on social media. Ideally, you want to post at least once a week. I know I'm guilty of not always doing that with my Bookstagram, but you do want to post at least once a week and engage in the community. So this can be by replying to comments on your own posts and videos, but you also want to reach out to other people and reply to their videos and their posts and all of that, because you want to show that you're engaged with the community, and that's also a way to help you grow within the community as well. So just wanted to reiterate, make sure you're sharing reviews often. So this can be video reviews, Instagram review posts, frequent GoodReads reviews, or Storygraph reviews. All of that is a good idea. And there is no follower minimum in order to get ARCs, but certain programs may have specific follower requirements. From the major publishers, this is sometimes 1,000 followers, 3,000 followers, 5,000, etc., depending on the specific publisher and that imprint. Some imprints are very popular and people want to request a lot of ARCs from them, so they might have higher requirements in order to be part of their influencer program or to request titles from them. But also, if you are a BIPOC or LGBTQ plus person and you want to review a book that's been written by someone in your community, you will be given higher dibs or higher priority for that title, even if you have a smaller following. So don't feel discouraged. I still encourage you to reach out, especially because they do like to prioritize marginalized reviewers. Okay, so now let's dive into all the ways that you can get advanced reader copies and advanced listener copies. So the first is through NetGalley and Edelweiss. I feel like I butchered that, but these are some of the most accessible platforms to get ARCs and ALCs. I will say that you will not get any physical galleys, but you will only get e-ARCs from this, so they are going to be ebooks. And the first thing you need to do is you need to create a profile with your social media links, a general description of who you are, some of your preferred genres, and some information about your engagement levels. So you should update this periodically as your following or engagement levels change. It's pretty easy. You don't want to overcomplicate things or make it too long. Just want a a brief short paragraph at the beginning and then all of your engagement details at the bottom. So once you have your profile set up, you can start requesting titles. Please note that I do not recommend mass requesting titles. This can mean that you get approved for many titles at the same time and you can become easily overwhelmed. This is a rookie mistake that is very common to new NetGalley and Edelweiss users, and so I recommend that you are selective about which titles you are actually interested in and which ones you apply to. And if you're not getting approved for any titles at the beginning, they do offer some read now or listen now options. These are some great books to get started with in order to get your reviewer rating up, and the higher your reviewer rating, the more likely you are to be approved for a title, especially titles that are very highly anticipated or very highly requested. You can also become auto-approved for titles from a specific publisher after you've received and reviewed several of your titles, but this is up to each publisher's discretion. You will receive an email letting you know that this has happened. I personally have not been auto-approved for any publishers, but I know of other people that have. And once you have read a title, you need to submit your review on NetGalley or Edelweiss, wherever you requested it from, and make sure that you share any social media links where you're talking about and reviewing that book as well. I personally have had more success with NetGalley and I prefer it. I prefer the interface on there. I think it's just easier to use, and I've gotten a lot more approvals on there than on Edelweiss, but it's up to you which one you want to use. You can use both of them if you're interested. I just think that NetGalley is preferable in my opinion. On the topic of e-arcs, you can also use Book Sirens and Reedsy Discovery and other platforms like that in order to request smaller titles to read and review. These are also e-arcs, so these are ebooks, and it's often easier to get copies from these websites like Book Sirens and stuff like that because they're not as popular, and so you're more likely to be approved for that title. But please note that these aren't the most popular titles. Those are usually reserved for NetGalley or Edelweiss. You can also enter giveaways on GoodReads and Storygraph. So if you use either of these platforms often, you can track your reading there and write reviews, and you may have noticed that they always have print and ebook giveaways going on. You can feel free to enter these, but please note there are hundreds and sometimes thousands of people entering these giveaways since they're open to the general public and there is no review requirement for any of these. But you can enter if you're interested in that. I have won a couple of titles myself, but it's pretty rare to win. But you can always try it out. It's worth a shot and you lose nothing by trying it. Okay, so on the topic of giveaways, if you're frequently posting on social media, whether that be Instagram or TikTok or anything like that, you will often find creators, authors, and publishers sharing giveaways there, and you can definitely enter these. This can be a good way to win some finished copies or ARCs, and it gives smaller creators a chance to win these because the selection process is random. Okay, you can also join the influencer list for a book tour or PR company. There are many out there, and these online book tours are basically just to promote a new book, and you can do things from creative posts to posting a blurb or posting a book review, depending on the requirements of that specific company or book tour or the publisher or author. And most often publishers and authors do require a review in exchange for an advanced copy of the book. Sometimes you have a specific date that you have to post, like the release date, and other times you have a little bit more flexibility. It all depends on the company, the publisher, and the campaign. You definitely have to check out all these details before applying and keep them in consideration, but you can get ARCs and ALCs this way as well. And there's a lot of different companies. Some of them include TBR and Beyond Tours, MTMC Tours, Storygram Tours, Caffeine Book Tours, R&R Book Tours, Blush Audiobook Promotions, Rockstar Book Tours, The Nerd Fan, etc., etc. There's so many out there. You can find them on Instagram and then find their links through there in order to sign up for their programs and see if you get admitted. And there's so many more. You can just look it up on Instagram. You can look for book tour companies, PR, any of that, and you can find more options. I have participated in many book tours in the past, and I'm on the influencer list for a few of these PR companies. And besides NetGalley and Edelweiss, this is one of the easiest ways of getting ARCs and ALCs. You can sometimes get physical ARCs this way, but it's more commonly e-ARCs and ALCs. But if you are interested, this is one of the easier ways of getting early copies of books, so I highly recommend checking these out. Okay, so moving on, you can also try joining publisher influencer programs. So these will often have a follower requirement, so keep that in mind. Sometimes this can be 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, etc. number of followers or subscribers, depending on what platform you're using, and also your engagement reach can sometimes affect this. But this also depends on the publisher and the imprint and how much these titles are requested from these publishers and imprints. You need to fill out an application in order to be considered for these programs, and some programs are open year-round, so they're on a rolling admissions basis, and some are only open during a specific month or specific season of the year. So be on the lookout for that. I highly recommend that you follow them on Instagram or some sort of social media like that. They often announce when they're going to be opening a new influencer program or when their influencer applications are open again. So keep an eye out for that. And I personally have worked with publishers this way. I've worked with Wattpad Books, with Source Books, with Simon & Schuster, Macmillan, HarperCollins. I've worked with quite a few of them, so it is possible to get onto these influencer lists. And I will try linking some of the open applications below or some of the links to these publishers. But again, check them out on Instagram. That's the easiest way of finding a lot of their forms for open ARC requests. Some programs do allow you to request specific books only or specific books for that season, and some you join their influencer program, so you have to keep an eye out to see which it is for that specific publisher. Alright, so if you're a big fan of audiobooks like I am, you might want to try checking out Libro.fm's audiobook listening program. They have several different ALC programs, and I'm currently part of their influencer ALC program, but they also have one for educators, for booksellers, and for librarians. So if you are part of any of these categories, you can feel free to apply for those. And I know that they have specific requirements for joining the influencer program at least. When I joined, you needed a minimum of 3,000 followers on Instagram or TikTok, but this requirement may have changed since I applied a few years ago. I have been a part of their program since 2021 and I absolutely love it, so I recommend it. And with the influencer listening program, you get 10 titles per month. I think this might be true with the other programs, but I'm not part of them, so I can't say for sure. You can also directly email publishers for ARC copies. This is a great way of obtaining an ARC if there's a very specific title that you want, but of course there's no guarantees with this. You will often not receive a response, so you might send an email and not hear anything, but you won't know if you're going to receive that title. You'll just have to keep an eye on your mail to see if you are going to receive it or not. And you can find a book's publisher on GoodReads or Storygraph, and this can help you figure out which publisher and which imprint you need to specifically email to request from. You need to be careful with this because sometimes you might have the right publisher but the wrong imprint, so you have to email the correct publisher and the correct imprint to even be considered. I have gotten a few titles this way myself, but I don't often use this method because you should really use this sparingly and only for titles that you really want to read and review. So just make sure that you aren't abusing this process. Some things that you want to include in your email are the title and author of the book that you're requesting, why you want to read that book. So if you've read other books by that author, mention that. If you've posted about them, mention that. Is this in your favorite genre? Is this something that you're highly anticipating because of a very specific factor or component of the story? Are you an own voices reader? That means, are you part of the marginalized community being represented in that story? You want to mention all of these things to kind of make your case for why you should receive an early copy of that story. So you also want to share social media links to wherever you post about your book. So this can be Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever it is. And you also want to include your followers, your engagement rate, all of that. You want to hype yourself up, explain to the publisher why you really want to receive that ARC and how you would support the publisher if you got it. This is something that you don't want to be too long-winded about, but you want to make sure that you're thorough enough, that you're getting your point across and you're really selling yourself. At the bottom, you should also include your address because sometimes publishers will just send you the book if they receive the email and they like your pitch, and they will not hunt you down. They will not follow up for that address if you don't have it there. So include it in your original email so you can get sent a copy of the book. I will try to link some of the contact information for some of the publishers down below, but it will not be an exhaustive list. There are so many publishers, imprints, and indie sellers out there that I cannot find all of them, but you can definitely search them up on Google if you're interested, and I'll leave some of the more popular ones down below. Finally, I just wanted to make a quick mention of the e-newsletter Shelf Awareness. I have been subscribed to this reader e-newsletter for a number of years, and it gives you a lot of news about books and the book industry, which is just nice to know about. But they also send daily emails, and some of these emails will feature ARC review opportunities. So these may take you to NetGalley or Edelweiss, but sometimes they'll take you to a Google form or another form that you can fill out to request a physical copy of a book. I have gotten many ARCs over the years using this method, and I think it's not a very well-known one, so you can definitely give it a shot. You're more likely to get an ARC this way than sometimes through an influencer program because I feel like less people know about this. But a con of this is, again, that you will not know if you're getting an ARC copy and you just have to wait and see. Sometimes if they can't send you a physical copy because they've run out or they don't think that you're the best fit for one, they will send you an e-ARC copy, so that's an ebook copy of it that you can access through NetGalley or Edelweiss. And this has also happened to me many times. I've gotten a lot of my NetGalley ARCs this way as well because they ran out of physical copies. Finally, I just want to drive home to make sure that you are writing reviews and maintaining good relationships with publishers, indie authors, book tour companies, etc., etc. You want to be on good terms with them so you can continue receiving ARCs and ALCs. And hopefully you learned something from this video so you can start receiving ARCs and ALC copies if you're interested. I know that some of these opportunities are limited based off of following count, and I'm sorry about that, but I did try to include a variety of different options. And these are just all the ways that I've learned about acquiring ARCs and ALCs over the 5+ years that I've been in the book community. But of course, if you know of any other ways of receiving ARCs or ALCs, please leave it in the comments down below. I think that we would all love to know and learn of new ways of doing this. So if you made it to this point in the video, I just want to say a big thank you for watching. This took me a while to compile, and please leave me a notepad emoji in the comments down below to show me that you've made it to the end. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you, and wherever you are in the world, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, I hope that you are doing well, and I'll see you in another video soon. Bye!